And welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with Daniel.
And Daniel.
Good morning, Daniel.
How's it going?
Good, good. It is bright and early. We are filming this about an hour and a half, 15 minutes earlier than we normally do.
Yeah, well, that's not that early compared to most people. It's only 10:45 our time, but we're
Right.
usually noon recorders.
Yeah, exactly. We like having the noon crowd coming into our podcast. But today we had to do a little bit early of an episode. We had some stuff we had to take care of this afternoon.
Yeah.
Well, mainly me. And we decided to bring an early episode, and we're also coming back tomorrow for another episode as well. This is a jam-packed week.
Yeah, and not only that, tomorrow's will probably be about like 1 o'clock, 12:30, somewhere around there. I have errands to run tomorrow because tomorrow is my anniversary, so.
Yeah, well, congratulations, of course.
7 long years.
Well, you've kept her sane somehow. Bravo. So clearly something's working. Let's just jump right into it. This week was our discussion week, but we're going to talk about our games that we've been playing lately.
And before we get going into that, let's talk about the topic of today's episode, because
This is
probably one of the hardest titles we ever had to come up with.
Yeah, the discussion was great, right? But we had so much time trying to figure out how we want to word it, and still it didn't quite work. It was close, but it didn't quite work. Basically, the question that I proposed to everybody on the Board Game Revolution group was, what games in your collection have been unplayed for the longest time? And what
we were also very vague about that too, because when we said unplayed, as long as it's in your collection, if it's on your shelf of shame for several years, it still counts.
Right.
If it's been between plays, it still counts.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, my original goal with this discussion was, what games have been the longest amount of time since the last play. So what I mean by that is, like, I'm just going to give an example. Apollo, I played this about a month ago. But, Mysterium, I probably haven't played in half a year, maybe a year now. So that's obviously a lot longer. But I have played them. And then I also realized you brought up that you put in some Shelf of Shame games.
I think I have one for sure. But yeah.
One for sure. And I was thinking I didn't want to do that at first, but then also 2 years ago, I emptied my Shelf of Shame and I played everything. So
yeah.
I have games in my collection that I know I had played since before that. I technically have one Shelf of Shame game, but I'll explain that when I get there. And,
so for me, I wanted to include the Shelf of Shame stuff because it's in your collection. You own it.
Yeah.
And if, like, for example, say I'm looking at a game up there, I have One Small Step that I just recently got about a month. It's been in my collection for a month, hasn't been played. Right. I have games up there that have been there for years and haven't been played. So, in fact, they've probably been longer than some of the other unplayed games on my list that are on my shelf.
Yeah, all of my top 4, which we'll be talking about in a minute, have been in my collection longer than any of my Shelf of Shame games. Now, also, we want to clarify, if you get a game that's from the 1980s, like let's say you buy Can't Stop, right?
Yeah.
And you just buy it this week, but it's been unplayed since the 80s. No, that's not what we're implying. So a good example of that, I just got Expedition Northwest Passage, and I'm very excited for that. And I have technically played it about 3 or 4 years ago online as a digital version, but I just got it in my collection 3 days ago. So
yeah, we're clarifying that it had to already be in your collection, not like you were saying, Can't Stop, which was 1983, but you just got it. Well, then it's been in your collection for like a week or two, not since 1983. Though an interesting one in one of the comments, we'll get to it a little bit. That's a very long time for owning a game and never playing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some really great comments. We love the discussion that we did. This was interesting because I wanted to see why people were justifying having these massive game collections and just not playing it. You know what I mean?
But sometimes people just collect.
Mm-hmm.
There's people. You collect playing cards. How often do you actually play your playing cards?
Wait, they're for playing? No, yeah, exactly. Now, granted, I played cribbage, but that was digitally, so Yeah.
But yeah, but I'm talking about like the cards out of your collection itself, not the
Right.
cards that you keep for playing card
Right.
purposes.
But the question is, though, if it's good enough to keep in your collection, why hasn't it hit the table? And so I'm sure like a lot of these have different reasons. Like maybe,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, I just put them aside and I forgot about them. They're a small game, or they're like a big grandiose epic game that just doesn't get to the table, or
Yeah, no,
they're
I have some really good reasons on mine. You'll have to
yeah,
wait and see.
or they're like I don't know. I'm not. I'm gonna be done speculating. We'll speculate when we read the comments.
Also,
So
so before we get back into like our fans' comments, you tried to jump the gun earlier before we got the explainer going on. What games have you been playing lately?
okay. So I've been playing games more online lately. Board Game Arena. I've toted about them before. I really like the fact that they are going out of their way to push and get more and more games just constantly.
Yeah,
A mutual friend of ours, Dom, I was explaining to him the list, and he played with us, I don't know, a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so.
yeah,
And he was like, "Yeah, I don't know if there's been new things since I've last played." And I showed him the list, and he was like, "Oh wow,
yeah.
no kidding."
I mean, they got the crew on there now.
Yeah, they have the crew on there. They have quite a few. So the first one I want to talk about is a game called Luxor, which was nominated for the Spiel, I think the same year that the Azul did. That won it. And basically, it's by Rudiger Dorn. You are all going to be moving into this spiral path inside of a pyramid, basically trying to get the most points and get the farthest in collecting sets of artifacts and getting to the sarcophagus and using special abilities. What makes it neat is that you have a hand of 5 cards, and they're numbered anywhere from like 1 to 5,
Okay,
mostly. You can only play the card that's on your far left or your far right. That's the only ones that you're allowed to play. But it makes this little tableau of cards that you're playing. So let's say I play the one that's on my far left and it's a 4. I move one of my pieces 4 spaces.
okay,
Then I draw a new card and put it right in the middle where the middle card was. And now that kind of conveyors that side of the cards that way, which is a cool
okay,
mechanism. It's very simple, but it's really neat. And a lot of the tiles need a certain number of your meeples to be on it in order for you to take it. Anywhere from like 1 to 3, I think. And so you're trying to position yourself to where you get the right number of meeples at the right time. But then if you run ahead, you're going to get more meeples that come into the beginning of the tomb. So you can plan that way as well. But then also to get to the very center of the tomb, you have to get a key, which is also another special card. Or in a lot of these spots, you can get special cards that you can add to your hand or abilities. Like one will let you roll a die, and it's like 1 to whatever number you roll, that's how many spaces you can move. Or, all sorts of different crazy abilities, like move your farthest back pawn up until the second farthest, which might trigger you getting a tile. And it's super cool how it works. I was really impressed by it, and yeah, it's one that's on my radar to pick up now.
So yeah, I was just noticing the way we talk about games. I'm like, yeah, I don't go into that big of an explanation of it. I want you guys to find out for yourself or research it. You're like going, this is what you do, this is how it works, these are the
Yeah,
mechanisms.
I want to explain at least the main mechanisms and why it's exciting, but you're right. I enjoyed the mess out of it. So
Yeah, so no, I get it. I really understand that. That just tells the differences between the two of us. I play games to play games, where you're looking at it as a designer kind of situation. This is a really cool thing that it
yeah,
does. Here's why.
yeah, I can appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely,
All
cool.
right,
What have you
so
been playing?
one of the games I've been playing recently, I just picked up Fallout Shelter, the board game, and actually got it to the table and really enjoyed it. Oh my god, did I enjoy it! One of the big things I have to say about this, don't have to be a fan of the app game that you get on
Right.
your phone and stuff like that to enjoy it. But it does help because you see the artwork, you see some of the stuff that come up in the game, the little monsters that are going to hit your shelter, I guess you could say, and
Hmm.
your vault. That's what I'm looking for. The word I'm looking for, your vault. And it's really really neat. I really had a good time for with it. It's a very simple worker placement game. Very simple. You
Oh,
take your character, you put it here. You pay the cost, you get your rewards. That simple. You may get injured from time to time when you're trying to fight these creatures, The in-game trigger is the threat cards, which are what I was talking about, the monsters when they run out, or the first person to build 6 rooms, we finish out the round. Whoever has the most happiness, which is the score, wins the game. And it's interesting because what I like about it is if you go to certain areas, you can upgrade your pit boys, and they go to new when they go to a location wherever they're upgraded, whether it's in the special, which is SPECIAL, which I'm not going to go into it. If you're a Fallout fan, you know what the special is. And what happens when you go to a location with that letter? So, let's say I build someone an S, I go to that location that has an S on its worker placement part, I get double the reward. So it's a nice little chaining mechanic as you're going.
Yeah.
But people can block you from going to that part, and then you have this guy who's trained in strength, which is what the S stands for in special, and I don't get to use his reward, so it's just wasted. So it's a little interesting give or take there, a lot going on. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. My only thing is that I hate it comes in a tin. I hate tins. They don't stack very well on the shelf. They get dented very easily. If you drop it, oh God, forget it.
Yeah, it's gone at that point.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun trying this one. This one's cool.
All right.
I don't have much more to say about that. I will say though, I am not a fan of Fallout nor the Fallout Shelter or anything like that. Maybe I would be. I've never tried it, but this, like the Fallout board game, I've had a lot of fun playing. So
yeah,
it's really
I still
neat.
got to try the Fallout board game. I am going to try the solo mode. I heard the solo mode, that game is really, it shines at its solo mode.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Then I hope you have fun with it because yeah, I enjoyed it as multiplayer. So.
I do want to get the expansion for Fallout, the actual board game, because it adds a co-op mechanism to it.
Yeah.
So I want to see how it works with that, where I play multiplayer against multiplayer, where there's solo and the co-op, and see how all that works together.
That's cool. It'd be more thematic too, I bet. Awesome.
Yeah.
The next one I want to talk about was also a board game arena game, and that is Via Magica. Have you heard of this one?
I've heard of it, never played it.
Have you heard of the old game Rise of Augustus, or simply called Augustus a lot of times?
Yes. It's bingo. Board game bingo.
Board Gamer Bingo. That's right. Yeah.
That's where I heard it. It's the reprinting of it.
Yep, exactly. It's a different theme, different art, and a little bit more slimline, but effectively it's the exact same game.
The word you're looking for is streamlined.
Streamlined? Yeah, is that what I said?
I heard slimlined.
No, streamlined. But yeah, it's awesome. Basically, you pull a token from a bag. Everybody then, like, let's say you pull out a water token. Everybody puts one of their little gems on one of the waters. You're trying to complete spells. Once you have gems in all of them, then you cast the spell, which is basically victory points. Means that you're complete with it, and you draw a new one to replace it. Some of them will have little abilities like you gotta move tokens around or place some stuff or draw an automatic one. That's effectively it. It works really well, and there's some push your luck as far as like some scoring in it, but it's a really awesome game. I've enjoyed. I still own Rise of Augustus. It's been in my collection for a really long time. It probably, if it wasn't for some of these games, it probably would be in my collection, or it would be in my longest without playing. But yeah, if you already have Rise of Augustus, you don't need Via Magica though. But if you don't have either, get it because it's really fun.
Yeah, I didn't hate playing Rise of Augustus back in the day when I played it, but I think me and the wife both agree it's really too simple for our liking. My wife is one of those people who like to really think things out, and we'll get to a game I'm going to talk about a little later about how mean she is in those kind of games.
Oh, I always enjoy stories about how mean your wife is. That's silly.
So the next game on my list here that I got to play and try is I finally got to try Yeto.
Yeah.
One of the worker placements that everybody says is one of those essential worker placements that you need to play, and I can see why. I actually had a really good time playing this one. It's a much heavier worker placement than you would expect when it comes to like worker placements. I just talked about one, Fallout Shelter. Pretty simple. You put your character out there, you pay your costs, you get your rewards, finish the round,
and you're done. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're done, depending on how many workers you get. This one, though, it's like you go here, and this goes here, but if you want to finish this, you got to make sure you have this guy over in this spot, and this guy over in this spot, but if you're using this special guy, he gives you a point, or if you're using this special guy to get your mission card to finish it, then you get to draw another mission card. So there is a lot of moving parts in this game, and it took a little while to remember, or not remember, to a little while to get going, because I had to remember, okay, what does this spot do? What does this spot do? What does this spot do? Oh, wait, I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this. But then there's this one spot where you have 3 different things that you could do in that spot, but you got to make sure you go into those specific spots. Like, one of them can determine turn order. Another spot on there allows you to draw some mission cards. And the other spot in that location just flat out gives you a victory point. And so it's got a lot of moving parts, and it takes a lot to remember. And I have to say, there's a high learning curve. This is not something you're going to bust out to non-experienced gamers, because they are going to get lost. If someone who's relatively new to gaming, within, let's say, the first 6 months of their gaming career, I guess you could say, you don't want to show them this. You want them to get some stuff in place before you show them this, because there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It's intense. It's a very intense worker placement game. Definitely a little bit more complicated than Fallout Shelter.
Well, yeah, just a smidge.
Just a smidge. Yeah. The next one I got a chance to play was from Bicycle Board Games, and that is Exchange. Yeah. The stock market game, very simple. Every round, it plays over a series of phases. The first phase, you reveal what stock you're going to be trading in. The next phase, you reveal, and this is all happening as a group. Everybody does this. The second phase, you reveal whether you're going to be buying or selling, although the amount is hidden by how much you're going to be buying or selling. And then lastly, the third phase, you modify the market. But then a new modification comes up, like an event happens, you reveal that, and that causes all kinds of shenanigans. What makes it really neat is that the bubble can pop so easily. What that means is that if you get to like $80 or $20 in a 3-player game, which is what I tried at, it jumps to the other side of the board. So something that was $80 is now $20. So if you're selling your stock for that, you still have to. You've already committed that. So it gets it absolutely absurd. The other reviews I've seen of this, I agree with. It's more fun than it should be. It seems too simple, but when you play it, it's like, yeah, it's a filler stock market game, and you're not really playing it for deep strategy, but it's fun. It's not devoid of strategy.
I have to say, it's probably one of the better stock market games I ever played, because,
would you say it's up there as far as like just even economic games? Like it's not bad.
Yeah, it's a pretty good game.
Yeah, I enjoyed the mess out of it, but that's Exchange.
It doesn't deserve for, like, when you say like stock market games and you're thinking stuff like Acquire and Stockpile and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. This plays actually quite quickly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it could be done in like 30 minutes, like easily, because it's 5 rounds. So.
Just a heads up, I do have 8 games on my list. I'm trying to go through them as fast as I can here. So my next game on my list here is Tekken, Obelisk in the Sun. This is the first time I actually got to play it multiplayer, and I really dig it. I can see why it's not for everyone. There's a lot going on. It's a bit fiddly. You're trying to remember all these different areas and what they can do, and it's good. I do enjoy it. It can be fiddly at times. So can the other game in the series, Teotihuacan. That's the word I'm looking for here. I haven't tried Zolkin yet, another one of the T series, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the last name in this, or the next game in these ancient T series empires. There's also Trigestimus. Trigestimus. That's why it's called the T series, because they like to make T games that you cannot pronounce.
Yeah.
Taiyo Initsu is the other one, the Incan Empire, between Xerxes and Tuscany. They have a tendency to make these weird T name games, and it's just... I do enjoy this one.
Don't you wish that it went back to the good old days where games were titled Tikal, and you knew how to say it?
Yeah, so This is probably the easiest one to say of all the names that they've come up with.
Oh,
Tekken.
Tekken, yeah.
I have to say though, the one thing that just drives me a little nuts about this game is it's a really really cool piece, but it's quite obtrusive and annoying at times, and that's the obelisk itself. Because the twisting and moving part of it's not a problem, but if you're playing, say, a 4-player game and you're across the table from everybody, half the dice are like covered, so you have to like go or look around, like, hey, what dice are over there? What dice we can? And I say there's a lot of fiddly because every time it changes, if it changes, like if it's in the sun or darkness or something like that, the dice are moving around. So some could become forbidden, some could become pure, some become tainted, and that's both good and bad because you're trying to keep balance for turn order and stuff like that. But if you become too tainted, it's negative points. There's a lot going on in this game. Along the lines of, say, Yeto. It's a lot to remember. This is not something you want to show new gamers again. No. This is another one of those games that you want to show gamers who kind of get that grasp. Because at its heart, it's a point salad game. It really is. There's so many ways you can get points and win. It's a bit tricky to pick up, especially if it's your first time playing and trying to remember every little moving part, because there's, whenever I say, like 8 sections of the game, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so 7 sections of the game, which has each different god powers that each have different things that you could do in these specific areas, and it's complicated. I enjoy it. I love it. It's a fun game.
Cool. Glad you like it. Yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed it too when I got a chance to play it. It was good. Yeah, I don't have much more to say other than that. It's my least favorite of all of like the Zolkin. I like that one a lot. Teotihuacan, or Teotihuacan. I don't know how to say it.
Whatever.
That one was cool. Yeah, I like that one.
So I do enjoy it. I don't know how I feel about Zolkin because I haven't played it yet. I own it. I haven't played it.
Yeah.
But I really dig Teotihuacan.
Yeah, that one it's top notch. But I mean, I'll put it this way: Zolkin, I was able to play that with my wife a number of years ago, and she liked it. So if that tells you anything, that's a good sign. So, yeah. My next one that I played was Kalis 1303, and that is the remake of the classic Kalis from 2006. From Astari Games. Now it is made by Space Cowboys. They got the original designer to clean it up, streamline it to today's standards. It's still a great worker placement. Still has the jerk provost piece. And now they got rid of even the money tokens, and they just simply replaced it with the amount of workers you have, which make way more sense because they were bartering back then anyway.
Yeah.
God, did I love that game. Man, that was fun. That hit every cylinder right the way I wanted it to. Everything that I hoped Kalis 1303 was going to be, because I really enjoyed the original, but I understand that it has some fiddly bits of it. I couldn't help but think, it's like, man, I hope this is good enough where I'd consider replacing my classic Kalis. And I'm thinking about it. I don't know that I need to own both. Like, this one is cleaner.
Yeah, no,
it works better.
If you think the things that they fixed in Kalis 1303 are better than Kalis itself,
yeah,
then I don't know why you would want to. I get why you would want to keep it because it's a rare game.
It's sentimental. I've had it for years.
Yeah,
it was one of the first heavier games.
The sentimental value of it. But is it really going to get to the table? Is it just going to be part of your collection, or are you going to actually play it? That's the thing.
Yeah, and that's really the biggest deciding factor with it. I don't think I need it anymore now that I have Kalis 1303, but it's going to be a hard day when I get rid of it, you know? But yeah, either way, Kalis 1303, if you like worker placement, if you want, a good comparison is Stone Age. If you like Stone Age but want that next level up, less random and more strategy, or even more player interaction, that's a great level. It is more complicated, and it gets some getting used to, but it's a step up.
There's 2 things I gotta say about Kalis 1303.
Okay.
Much better cover than the original Kalis. Much better cover.
Yeah.
And it can lead itself to being a jerk in that game. If you play with that kind of player who likes to be a jerk in the game, don't play this game with them. Just don't. Honestly, bust out any other game where you're okay with them being a jerk. But this can be a point where people try to uh, be a jerk. Like, oh, if I can't get that, I'm just gonna spin my meeples here to move the
Yeah.
provost back, and nobody can get that spot now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really mean piece. Yeah.
I get that's part of the game, but if you get frustrated with jerky kind of players, just don't play this game with them. Play
Yeah.
this with people who will do jerk things, but because it makes sense rather than just to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's one of the meanest worker placements there is.
Yeah, I
Probably
can
one
say
of the
that.
meanest that we've played, for sure.
Yeah, it is funny because I do like that ability because you can really mess with somebody's soul. It's like he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. He's got that special ability.
Yep.
He's gonna do it. He's gonna. I'm just. Wait. Why'd that go there?
Yeah. Hmm? It's like, oh, you son of a... Yeah, it's so good. That was a stand-up moment. Like, that's one of those memorable moments that when we discuss this in the future, whatever top 8 debate that this ends up being on, I don't know, might be, uh, this is something that we're going to definitely have to bring up. You know,
Yeah, no, I don't
that's such
disagree there.
memorable moments. But yeah, that was the next one on my list.
So the next one on my list is a really actually quick game here, and that is 5 Minute Mystery.
Yeah.
I really dug this one. It's basically I Spy with a codex system where you're trying to. I guess the best way to equate it is like I Spy meets Guess Who, because you're trying to find certain clues to eliminate certain thieves in there to narrow down who you think it was.
Yeah.
And I really like it. So if they got scales and you show that, hey, they don't have scales, you take all the people that have scales out of your decks till you narrow down who you think is the criminal. It's really cool. I really love that component of the codex system.
Uh-huh.
That little clip. Just that toy factor alone is just really good. And it got so much that I enjoyed it so much that I have to go find myself a copy of this game to play with like family and friends, because I think it's that good of a game that you can play with people who don't even like gaming, because it's basically you're just huddling over a picture going, I see this type of star, I see this type of square, you put it in the codex, you match it up, hey, you get a clue.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it was neat. I actually liked it. I have you can see right here, I have 5 minute dungeon.
Yeah.
5 minute dungeon. That's been in my collection for a long time, and I haven't played it, and I was thinking about getting rid of it. If I have the opportunity to trade it for Mystery, I will. Hands down.
Yeah.
100%. I don't need to own both. They're very different games, but, I mean, that just gives you that raw, silly fun way better.
I played 5 Minute Marvel. I really did enjoy that one, but to me, for that kind of game, I don't really need it for myself, because you have Dungeon and a couple of other friends have Marvel by itself. But this one I need, because even if everybody in our game group owns it, it's that fun of a game. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. The next one on my list, I finally got to show you. I'm going to rewind back to last time we filmed, and right after we did that, I taught you how to play Lost Cities officially. And we played online on Board Game Arena, and if you saw our live stream, you saw exactly what I did. I was like, no, we need to discuss Lost Cities. We're fixing this now. Let's play. Because you had played the board game.
I played the board game, yeah.
Which I get. The one advantage the board game has is that it tells you the scores right there. You don't have to do the math to figure out what everything is worth. Whereas the card game, if you start an expedition, you're going to minus 20 points from the total of the cards. It's a cool little brain burnery puzzle. Great 2-player game. There's so much good give and take, because you're trying to get the best hand possible, but that hand is only worth anything if you've played it. And so you're like, the beginning of the game, you're trying not to give too much information to your opponent of what you have. So you're discarding a card here, maybe taking a card, being calm, and then you're not playing anything for the first like fourth of the game. And then once you finally go, okay, I have enough yellow, like I got to start playing, but then that's going to cut off. Like my opponent's going to see that and go, nope, not giving you any more yellow, because there's no way.
Or I see you played the 2 there, so I could just discard this handshake.
Yeah, exactly. There's more to it than it seems. It's another one of those. It's so obviously simple that it shouldn't be that fun, but I've enjoyed it every time I've played it, so much that I've even bought my mom. She's not a gamer, but I bought my mom a copy of this a number of years ago because she did enjoy playing it with me for
So
quite some time.
Lost Cities, I didn't really enjoy the board game. This is better than the board game, I
Hmm.
have to say. I still didn't really enjoy it. I get it. I get why people like it.
Yeah.
I had a decent time playing it. It's just
Yeah.
I gotta have theme in my game, and this
Yeah.
is just math.
It's void. Yeah. Reiner Knizia did it again.
It's Raider Canizia. We're gonna talk about this in the top 8 debate because I believe this one
Hmm.
and Raw is both on the list.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, here's a push your luck game with an Egyptian theme. That's just there. It's really dig in the bag, see if you want to keep going. You can
Yep.
put anything on that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Rider Kinesia, especially the earlier ones, tends to be very devoid of theme.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
Very
just there
much
to
so.
make pretty pieces, honestly. And even with Raw, they're not that pretty.
Yeah, the newer one is better than the older one, but yeah. Either
So
way.
speaking of pretty games, the next game on my list here is Horrified. I still think this is one of the better looking games that have come out recently because of Prospero Hall's decision to do what they've done with this game. The board is great. The minis are great. The colors, the black and white cards, phenomenal. Still really enjoy the game. I'm not going to harp too much about this because we've talked about this game a lot. I do have to say, the last play I did of it was probably one of the worst defeats I've ever had in this game. We were playing against the Mummy, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and the Invisible Man, and we just got annihilated. What was it? The first turn before someone even could take an action, the Mummy crept up into their spot and just slapped them silly.
That's funny.
The dice rolls just weren't going in our favor. By the end of the game, we didn't even do much. We got halfway on the creature. We got lost almost all of our tokens to the Mummy. They all got flipped except for one. And what else? The boat was only halfway to the lair before we all died at one point or lost villagers. It was an annihilation. Probably one of the worst defeats I've ever had in this game.
That's awesome. But yeah, I know that feeling all too well. It is ridiculous.
I honestly think we played it for like 10, 15 minutes by the time we lost.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds
We
about
were
right.
doing everything we could to mitigate it. That's the thing. We were using the white cards that we start with. We were moving villagers to get more white cards, and it was just
Yeah. That's awesome. The next game I played was a game I haven't played in a number of months. It's not a designer board game. It's a classic, and it's technically a political game. My dad bought a new version of chess it was called the Race to the White House 2020, and it had Republicans on one side, Democrats on the other,
God.
and he gave me a copy of it, and I was like, okay, I'm not even a big fan of chess, but okay. Actually, playing this with Nightmare Chess would be hilarious, but
I like chess. I don't know why people give it grief.
I don't mind it. I'm terrible at it. That's the big difference.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm
And
terrible at it. I still have fun playing it.
I brought it home and I set it down. And I was like, and I showed my wife. I was like, yeah, look at this. Like this is silly, And my son saw it, and he loves chess, and he was like, oh, do you want to play? And this was the day after the election day.
Oh,
I'm like, not really. I don't really, because everything was still up in the air, and nothing was called yet. And so I was like, do I really want to play a game of chess featuring these two rivals on election day?
Yeah, but then your son also asked you, so.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why. So I agreed to play with him, and I forget how good that kid is at chess. I thought I was doing good, and it boiled down to me having the king left as my only piece, of course, and him having a king, a bishop, and the queen. No chance at that point. All it was
At
just
this point, you're like, you got it. I'm done. I'm out.
No, I want him to be critically thinking, so I made him force me into the corner, but he had to figure out how to do it. I was gonna do everything I could to avoid it, and it took us probably
It's
another
funny.
10
You
minutes.
force your kid to critically think, but yet he kicks our butt every time we play against him. So I think he knows how to critically think.
Yeah, but you gotta enrich it. You know, you gotta if he wants to be a chess grandmaster, he's gotta keep pushing. Yeah, so that was it. That was an interesting game night. I didn't want to play board games after that, which is rare for me.
So I take it you didn't want to play your deck builder, huh?
Nope, nope. Can't say I did.
All right. So the next game on my list here that I got to play is again another game I've constantly talk about, but I really wanted to bring up this point. I did get to play Wingspan again.
Okay.
Really enjoy this game. We tried actually a new house rule that I've been seeing on like the Wingspan group and stuff like that. So what you do is you take the lid off the card deck where you store them, and you shuffle 3 different decks and you put them inside the card whales while the 3 face up or right below it. So you have 3 different draw decks in this sense. It just helps you get through the deck a lot quicker. It gives you a little bit more variety of, like, not when you're top decking, but still. Just allows things to move faster, get through more cards, have a better chance of getting cards that you want to get.
Gotcha. Interesting.
I really enjoyed it that way. It's still such a beautiful game. And this is the first game I actually got to play with the Geek Up Food Bits that I just recently got. And I love them. They were a hit. It was such a good thing. And this really gets me excited for the new expansion that I should be getting within the next couple weeks.
Yeah. Cool.
So, yeah, Wingspan. What more can I say about this game? I really love it.
Yep. And the another quick one that I played, another one online. Board Game Arena finally got a full non-beta version of Marrakesh, which is about laying carpets and area control.
Oh, the carpet game. I remember this one. That was a good one.
Love that game. And they have a really good implementation of it. I've played it, let's see how many times. 1, 2, 3, probably about 4 times in the past week. I've played against these various people. Love that game. It's amazing. If you haven't played it, go try it. Very simple, but super fun. I don't know why it's that fun. It's just really fun.
So, I do really enjoy that game. I had a really good time the one time we played it. I thought I was doing so bad in that game. I ended up winning by like 2 or 3 points. I was like, what?
Yeah, how? What?
So, but I have a good time. I highly recommend that one. And it's funny. A lot of people looked into this game to a point where it got so hard to buy because of the anime.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, the After School Dice Club, I think, is what the American title.
Yeah.
Because that was the first episode, and in the anime they teach you how to play the game, and then they show like the characters playing it and all these different personalities, and that's what brings that unlikely group together. And yeah, I've like not for years had anybody heard about Marrakesh, and I'm a big proponent of it, and I brought it just on a whim to the comic shop when we were doing demos a number of months ago, and then like 3 people came up to me at separate occasions going, "Hey, I've heard of a game called Marrakesh. Do you have it for demo?" I'm like, "Well, yes, I do." Let's bring it up.
I remember when they were talking to you about that. They're like, "Do you have it?" I'm like, "You were asking everybody, how do you know this?"
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and only one of them told me it's like, "Oh yeah, I saw this anime with Marrakesh," and I'm like, "Okay."
To the point that made you go look up the anime.
Yep. I had heard of the anime before, but I didn't know that's the game they featured. But yeah. As soon as I heard about that, I've watched the whole anime series. It was only 1 season. It's not very good, to be honest. It's just, it is what it is. But
I haven't watched it, so I can't make a judgment on it. Next game on my list
it's good filler.
Is a game I haven't played in a while. One that I haven't talked about in a while. This might have actually made our list that we're going to be talking about a little bit if I hadn't played it recently. And that's Time's Up. Total Recall.
Yeah.
It's a good little party game. If you're with the holiday coming up, and we don't recommend people getting together with big members of their families or something like that, but if you're doing like a small gathering, this is a perfect little game for a small gathering.
Sure.
It's a fun little party game, which really, really leads to a lot of laughs. What you're trying to do is you're trying to guess a certain amount of cards. I think it's 40 for a regular game. A quick game is 30. And what you're doing is you're either reading in my version, it's either the blue side or the yellow side. You choose that before the game, and so you got to go through the stack of 40. The first round is you could give as many guesses as you want. However, you only have 30 seconds, and you could give as many guesses and as many questions, or I forget what the word is for it.
Uh,
But
yeah.
hints to the
Hints.
word,
Yeah.
but you can't say like something in the word. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things is if you're saying you're trying to guess Hodor, and you can't say hold the door, Hodor, or something like that, but you can say hold the door. That works,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But you want to pay attention to what other people are saying too, because when you get to the second round, you can only give one word clues, and you only
Mm-hmm.
get one guess. So if someone says hold the door for Hodor, you could say door, and someone would know what it is.
Yeah.
Um, but my favorite part is the third round, because that leads to most of the best laughs you're going to get in the game. Because the guy who's giving the clue, the person,
Mm-hmm.
they can't say a word. They have to pantomime
Yep.
what clue they're trying to give. And there's just so many, like, my best memory of this is when you showed me this game, and I go back to Hodor because that was my clue. I literally ran to your front door and held it.
Yep. Yeah. That's one of the most memorable party games of all time. It really is.
It really is. I have such a great time with it. I think this is a great party game. It's quite interesting because it recommends for higher groups, and that's fine. This is a great couple game. So if you
Yeah.
have that couple that you always play games with, that you always go over to their
Mm-hmm.
house, or they come over to your house, and you guys just have a good time, this is perfect. It's a nice marriage record.
Yeah.
How could you
Very
not
good.
guess that was Mad Max Fury Road? I don't get what this is.
I take it that's a little too real for you right now. Oh man.
Uh,
The next one that I've played last night, I played with my son, Gloomhaven. We beat Scenario 3 in Jaws of the Lion. Finally, he died again, so he got to watch me play it and break my brain, but I irked it out. He was a little bored, I'm not gonna lie. So,
Yeah, the player elimination thing is a bit of an annoyance, but it forces you to stop being a Leroy Jenkins type of character.
yeah. Yep, which is totally what he did. He ended his turn in a doorway, and then everybody's like, "Huh? Let's go kill him!" And just ran over. That's basically what happened. And he was at full health, or like one or two shy of full health, but
Yeah,
they
no,
just they
that
wailed
game
on him.
can be vicious. So,
Yeah. So, but Jaws of the Lion still like it a lot. Can't wait to try Scenario 4 next time.
all
And
right, so the last game that's on my list here that I played recently is my favorite worker placement. Can you guess what it is?
oh, your favorite worker placement. I thought you were gonna talk about the one from yesterday. Your
No, I did
favorite.
not. I was leaving that one for you if you want to talk about it.
We'll both talk about it. Your favorite worker placement. It's not Stone Age. I
Nope.
don't think. No.
You don't own it.
Oh. Um. Mm,
So I saw you looking at your shelf. You don't own it.
yeah.
I've talked
Okay.
about this way too many times on this podcast, and you don't know what it is.
I'm sure I do. I just don't remember. Is
And
it
I'll give you one clue.
Tapestry? Is it one of the Stonemaier?
Tapestry's not a worker placement, huh?
Oh no, it's not Tapestry. It's not Pendulum then.
No.
'Cause that's not one of your. Is it a Stonemaier?
Yep.
Okay.
Wine.
Oh, viticulture. Yep.
Got to play this recently. Still really dig this game. I was teaching this to new people, so I just taught the expanded board. So like half the stuff that comes with the expansion, don't even play with. Didn't play with the building cards, didn't play with the worker or the area control thing over here. Just played with the extended board, which is a phenomenal board by itself. Really, really love this game. Had a good time. We actually came up with a new term: chicken order. Follow the chicken order. Because the wake up track you have to follow who first player is based off that track, and it's a rooster. So the whole joke was because someone kept trying to go around the table, like, no, follow the chicken order, and keep pointing at the chickens. So
Okay.
that's our new thing with it.
What?
And as usual, as I said earlier, the wife killed us. Since, we were going to. I was just going to make it a short game instead of playing to the normal 25. I was like, okay, let's play to 20. Well, it was getting late, so I'm like, all right, you know what? First person to 15 will hit the end round. We'll finish the year. We'll go. My wife's like, no, don't worry about it. Don't drop it to 15. She hits 15, and then, like, 2 seconds later, she's like, I did this. Once we got in the winner, and she freaking zoomed to 22.
Yep.
She's like, it was ending this round no matter what. The closest person was me at 10.
That sounds about right.
It was, so the scores were my wife 22, me 10, the third place at 9, and the fourth place at 8.
Yeah. Yep. That sounds right. Good God.
So the rest of us were having a close game.
Yeah. So you got second place at 10 points. Wow.
Because my wife just like, no, don't worry about it. We'll end it right now anyways. Boom, boom, boom. She was able to like combo this thing by going into winter and like, hey, you get to fill 2 orders. She got all the points for those fill orders. And then she moved into the fill order position too and filled another order and just boom, 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 boom points. And it's like,
that was like me with Tekenhu, how like I had literally twice as many points as you or Dom. Like, you know, it's like that I had no right to be that far ahead. Yeah, that's silly. And then the last game that we're going to be talking about was a game that I got to show you yesterday after we filmed our podcast. And you and I are both Stefan Feld fanboys, but you had not played this one. And so that is Revolution 1828 by Renegade Games, I believe.
I think that is Renegade. Mm-hmm. I will say this, though. Ugly as sin, like most Feld games.
Yeah.
That cover, though. Ooh.
Yeah, well, see, I like the cover. I like the stylized style of it, but the tokens, how that you don't really know what they mean.
Yeah, real simple game, I have to say.
Yeah, very simple for Feld, you know, which isn't saying much because that's still more complicated than some. But this is literally you just take a token, put it on its column. That's technically it.
And get your points. Whoever has the most or has an elector.
Yeah.
And it's funny. What my best memory of this game, though, is that as we're putting the game away, we're like, oh, wait, we forgot to give you these 3 points. So I went from a 2-point loss to a 1-point win.
Yep. Yeah, and I just reached over to the stack, and then we both just looked at each other. We didn't count this. Yeah, that was brilliant. Yeah, a 1-point difference. How does this rank on your Feldian scale?
I like it. I really did enjoy it. My only issue with it is it's a 2-player game. So it's not likely to hit my table all that much. So out of Feldians, it probably middle of the road. I did enjoy it, maybe on the higher end of the middle of the road.
Yeah.
But it's just probably something I might not add to my collection until somewhere down the line, maybe later down the line. Just because it's not something that's going to hit the table of 2 players. Usually when we do get our game group back and going and stuff like that, I probably would be able to play my bigger Feldians, but my wife just probably wouldn't play with me here at the house.
Yeah. See, I
have
almost
a better chance of playing like a Feld game on Board Game Arena than I do here at the house with her.
Right. I almost wonder if my wife would be willing to play this because I know how much she likes Azul. So she likes that drafting thing, and with 2 players, this is a really great drafting game. But we'll have to see.
I remember what I really liked about it too was there was at one point where it's like, hey, this thing's out there, so I could tell you which column you got to go to. So I was like, I'm going to take this one. You got to go to that column. Well, in that column, there's a token in there that says if this is if there's no other tokens in here, this has to be the first one taken.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, you just told me how to play my move.
Yeah. Yeah. And your turn again, sir. Yeah. That was fun. Yeah. I love the absurd combos you can make with that. It's really cool because there's ways to get extra turns, extra tiles, bonus actions. It's smart. It's a really neat game. So we've belabored this long enough. We've been on here for like almost an hour talking about games that we've been playing. Let's talk about games that you haven't been playing.
All right. Starting with, of course, our fan selection poll that we do every year or every week at Board Game Revolution on Facebook.
Yep.
And wow, did we get a lot of comments from
this. we sparked something deep inside of the psyche of the gamers here. So once again, as a reiteration, we asked you what games have been in your collection, or what games in your collection have been unplayed for the longest time. And 101 comments later.
So we're going to try to go through this quickly because we did talk about a lot of games in the beginning part of the podcast. But, ooh, boy, do you want to start?
Sure. David said Kemet.
I played the game. Not bad. Mitchell says Zulkin. copy of Zolkin is not on the list because I've only had it for a couple months now.
Yep. Although I've played Zolkin a long time ago and I did like it. Matt said, I'm kind of sad about it. Zombicide Black Plague.
And Brian is just reiterating that's on his list too.
Yep.
Dan says Small World.
And Daniel, good name.
Yeah, a very good name.
Oh, and Dan as well. Daniel said never play, or he asked for clarification.
Yeah.
Which once again, let's clarify whether they've been in your collection as Shelf of Shame or just in your collection since the last time they played.
In between plays, so yeah.
Yep.
And I just clarified that either choice works, really. We just want to know what's been in your collection.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So Michael said Mice and Mystics Rise of Moloch.
We may or may not be talking about Mice and Mystics a little later. I have never played Rise of Moloch.
Oh, okay.
Adam says Ninja, Legend of the Scorpion Clan. It has been on his shelf for 7 years now.
Wow.
So, yeah. Never even heard of that game.
Yep. No, never have either. Is that Lane, I believe?
I believe it's Ian.
Ian. Okay. Ian said Monopoly, 84 years and counting.
Man, he looks good for 84.
Yeah, right?
Derek says Massive Darkness. If I remember correctly, that's a command game.
I believe so, and it's fairly new, so that's good on Derek, because that means that he gets his games to the table.
Yeah.
Alex says World of Yoho, 2 years and counting.
And Sean was reiterating, considering it's an app-based game, he's wondering if it's even still playable.
Ah, that's a good question.
Which I believe it is. And that's one thing we've brought up in past topics is how long is the app going to be supported?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I didn't even know that.
Robert adds Notre Dame. He last played it in 2012.
Wow, May of 2012. That's rough. Mike, Revolution, the Dutch Revolt.
Carlos, Blood Rage. We only played it twice since COVID-19.
Oh, it's not too bad considering that was March. At least here in the United States. Steven says Fury of Dracula. Lack of interest from my group. Rules overhead. The specific player count made it a tough one to get down. You know that a little too well too.
Before we move on, hello Intense Blitz.
Oh, hey Intense. How you doing?
We'll talk about a little Fury Dracula a little later. Van says all of my bookshelf war games, every single one. He's never played them.
Yep, I know that too well. And I'm gonna have some clarification on my list as well. I'll talk about that. Tom said Shadows over Camelot. Got it on clearance way early in my collection because a friend wanted to try it and never broke the seal. It's still sealed.
Oof. I think you skipped one. Might have been scrambled between our two lists.
I did.
Chris says Sword and Sorcery. 1 year, no excuses.
1 year, no excuses. That's fair. Billy says probably Time Stories. I want to play it, but I just haven't had the urge.
Understandable. Really like his icon.
Yep.
Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah.
Chuck says Terra Mystica. It's been 1 year and 5 months.
Joe, Shadows of Brimstone. It's an older game. It's not the new.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
Deidre says we finally got Eldritch Horror off our shelf in October after it had been there for over 1 year.
Oh, nice. Good job. Mark says...
I don't know if my copy of Eldritch Horror is on the list, but it's pretty close.
No, because you showed me not too long ago. Maybe...
Yeah, that was
2 years ago.
No, that was 3 years ago.
Yeah?
Because it's not on our... That's one of the main things is because I keep stats on BG Stats that I started January of last year. So if it wasn't on the stats, I know for a fact it's been a while since
it's been at least 2 years, right?
Yeah.
No, but so all of my lists have been longer than yours. I know that. The Elder Sign. Or Eldritch Horror. Mark says Cyclades. Bought it over 1 year ago.
Annalise says, I think it's Metal Adventure. Bought it when we were new in the board game world and has never hit the table. Maybe it's time to play it to decide whether to keep it or sell it. I never sell unplayed games, which is fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, how would you know if you need to get rid of it if you haven't tried it? And Intense, we are great.
And he is just confirming that he hasn't played his copy either, and it has been ages for him as well.
Yeah. Intense, how have you been? Thanks for joining us today. Um, David says Priests of Ra or Dungeon Twister.
Kevin adds Citadels.
Citadel. um, Jack said 90% of them. Poor
Aw.
guy.
Chad says Cerebria.
Cerebria.
Cerebria. Huh?
Yeah, the cover I believe looks like a brain. It's really cool looking. Heather says all of them. Will this pandemic never end? I hear you.
Just to add here, our person in the chat's intent says most of my unplayed games are now coming down to the more party style games.
Oh, so yeah, the party style games are hard to get to the table right now.
Yeah. Kev has added 2 games, and we're already going to do, or several games. I'm going to do both his comments here. Is Hero Quest and Battle Masters, as well as Heroescape has never been played.
Ah, yep. Craig says Darker, Darkest, which I've not heard of. Sounds cool. Android Netrunner, which I own and very much enjoy. That's probably up there as far as contention of. I think I played it fairly recently though. And Space Cadets.
I've only heard of one of those, and I didn't like it.
Space Cadets was a Stronghold game. It didn't look too bad.
So Chris adds Command and Colors Napoleonics. I have played others, just not these ones.
Yeah, which that's one of the caveats that I'll be talking about here in a minute. Abraham says Deep Madness.
Rebecca also says Eldritch Horror. I got it as a gift back in 2018 and just haven't played it yet, which is funny because my dog's name is Eldritch Horror.
That's awesome. Kay says Seafall, and I know that a little too well. I bought mine later on, but mine is unplayed as well.
Caden says he got Fort today and he hasn't played it yet. So, hey.
So every other game
must have a very engaging library.
Yeah, or a very small library. That's just very refined, right? Kristen says War of the Ring.
And Kenny adds Catan. He bought it in 2014 and has still never played his copy.
Yeah, maybe he's played other copies, but yeah.
That's a possibility. That was one of my caveats, is that I haven't had played other copies either.
Yeah, same here. I have not played any of the other copies. Scott said Terra Mystica.
And James adds Battlestar Galactica. It's been unplayed since April of 2014, and he thinks he's the only person in his group who's actually watched the show at this point.
That's a sign, right? I
really did enjoy that show. Yeah, I did really enjoy it. This is the Battlestar Galactica is based off the rebooted series, not that old one back in the 70s, just for people. Yeah.
That makes sense. Forgive me for I'm going to mispronounce the name, but Brecht says Pixie Queen. Never found someone willing to play.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. I don't think I'd be willing to play it.
I don't even want to try and figure that out. Or the partner question, how many are unplayed?
Yeah. Yep. Samara? Samara says Coder Mines. Playing it this weekend, though. Or planning to play it this weekend. Okay. I've never heard of that one.
Nor have I. Bodine says, I think I may have the record. Squad leader sitting on my shelf for 30 plus years. Not sure why I don't get rid of it.
Yeah, you probably have it.
I don't know. There's another one that's actually quite longer, I think.
Maybe. We'll see.
Oh, no. You'll see it a little bit later.
Yeah, I think I know the comment you're talking about. Intense said, I have never played Catan, and I don't own it either. How come you haven't played Catan? Haven't wanted to? Or just never got the opportunity? And then Joe says, probably Conquest of the Empire, Turn in Taxis, Top Secret Spies, Dust, Marvel Heroes, War on Terror. I have quite a few that I haven't played in 7 or 8 years, maybe longer. Turn in Taxis and Top Secret Spies, Spiel winners. You need to play them. They're good.
Turn in Taxis I really enjoyed. Never heard of Top Secret Spies. War on Terror is a war game.
Yeah. Top Secret Spies plays very similar to Museum Heist. You know, where one player is like a secret character, and you're moving certain ones around the board.
So Ben adds, currently, Tapestry, Viticulture, and Terra Mystica. I've lived with multiple gamers, though, so most of my games get played frequently.
Good.
I really enjoy Tapestry. You know my feelings about Viticulture. We just talked about it. Never played Terra Mystica.
I still haven't played Tapestry yet. Terra Mystica was cool. I played on Board Game Arena. Oh,
You
Tapestry.
actually.
Yeah, I have played Tapestry. Sorry. I keep thinking Tapestry is Pendulum. I
Yeah,
want to play
no.
Pendulum. All right. Erica says Test of Honor. Had it for almost 2 years now. The first year or so was a slow progress of assembly and paint, but somehow we still haven't gotten it to the table.
Kurt says, right now, Assassin's Creed, Wonder Woman, Lords of Waterdeep, and Catan. Also, Music Veil.
I think they meant Mystic Veil, is what I'm assuming, but
I
it
was
could
making
be.
sure. If it's Mystic Veil, awesome. It's a fun game. You know my issues with it. We talked about it.
Yep.
Assassin's Creed, I've seen it. The shop used to sell it. Wonder Woman, I have looked into. That's a Prospero Hall game.
Yeah, but that's pretty new, so that's a good sign.
And Lords of Waterdeep. What can I say about Lords of Waterdeep? It's a fine game. I just didn't find it all that intriguing.
Right, same here. Richard said X-Files, which, yeah, I have probably not played X-Files since I first had a demo of it.
But that's the Kevin Wilson one, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Not the Encounters?
No, with the Smoking Man? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm assuming that's what Richard was talking about. I did like it, though, quite a bit.
Steven says, My Village, 8/28/2016.
Cool. And Intense replied, I think the opportunity sounds more right. It definitely has intrigued me from the show Parks and Recs. Did they play it? I know they played Cones of Dunshire. Or was that Community?
No, that's The Office.
No, The Office didn't have Cones of Dunshire.
The Office invented the Cone of Dunshire.
No, it didn't. It was a different show. I think it was Community.
You want me to call my wife on this?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Because she has a shirt that says that.
No, I know, but the Cones of Dunshire I don't think was invented in The Office. I might be wrong.
It's from The Office.
All right.
You can look it up.
All right, we will in a bit. Guillaume
it's yours.
says Pandemic or Agricola.
Tina says The Godfather, Corleone's Empire.
Cones of Dunshire. Okay. While that's loading, I will read the next one. Heather says Mansions of Madness. I can't get anyone to play it with me.
It's from Parks and Rec? Oh, Cones of Dunshire. No, there's another game that they play on The Office. Never mind. You're right.
Yeah, put the stapler in the Jello mold. Yeah, that's the game.
Now that's funny.
Yeah, Cones of Dunshire. I knew it was in The Office. But
See,
yeah, thank you,
I
Intense.
get a lot of those shows mixed up because those are like 3 of my wife's favorite shows. So
Yeah, that's fair. And they have a very similar style, so
They're
you're
always
forgiven.
on in this house.
Right.
Angalan Batar says Power Grid.
Yeah, Power Grid.
And I am so totally sorry if I butchered your name.
Yeah. Natalie says way too many of them.
Jared adds, probably Alchemist. Unfortunately, going on 3 years. Maybe this is the week it gets played.
I love how they say maybe this is the week it gets played. Brilliant, Jared. All right, Mo, our friend from Tabletop Bellhop, said Shadow Lord.
Subscribe to them. Go give them a shout out.
Exactly. Go check out Tabletop Bellhop on. They're airing tonight, I think. Today's a Wednesday.
Yep.
Cool. Shadow Lord got it in 1983 and still haven't played it. 27 years.
That's 37 years there,
If
buddy.
we were in 2010. You just didn't let me finish my sentence.
Pedro says, Fallout. Bought it in the beginning of the year. It's still the shrink. Actually thinking of selling it.
Yeah, I've considered it as well. Or not specifically Fallout, but with the games. Jody says China Rails.
Scott says Duel of Ages, among others. Sigh.
Yep. Amarina says the ones for preschoolers, but I hang on to them for rare occasions that the little ones come to visit. That's cool. I like that.
Fair enough. Jacob says Lord of Hellas. It's been on his shelf for 690 days, and he still hasn't played it. I actually really enjoyed that game.
That's oddly specific. Slightly short of 2 years. If we're in 2020. Okay. Yeah, James said my Avalon Hill games, particularly Jutland. Yep. The Avalon Hill
Graham
bookshelf
says,
ones.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, the Avalon Hill bookshelf style games. Yep.
Graham says Battlestar Galactica He bought it 5 years ago. He still hasn't found that third player.
Oh, that's a bummer. Ryan, Star Wars Rebellion. Got it for my oldest son since he loves Star Wars, but he's still not ready. And Fire and Axe. Wife bought it for my birthday years ago, but I still hasn't made time to play with me. Well, I guess that's an odd gift. That's only half of a gift, isn't it?
Yeah. John says, anything that requires 3 players.
That's fair. Marique? I'm terrible at these names. Some of them, you guys have amazing names. I'm just terrible at pronunciation. Edge. Downfall.
Adrian says, Hyperborea.
Zachary says Rockwell. And he
Mitchell,
tagged a few people in, so I'm guessing he's hinting, hey, we need to play it.
Mitchell says legendary.
All right. John says the Bridges of Shangri-La. And, yeah, that's the comment I was talking to you about earlier.
Alrighty. And Lee says Vietnam 65-75. He's had it for 30 plus years.
And then Lee says, actually, I have probably about 24 games that have never been played when bought over 30 years ago.
Oh, jeez. David says Battlestar Galactica.
David, yeah. Caitlin says, sad about it. Must be Lords of Hellas. I guess it has to do with the amount of players I want to play with it, but Corona.
Yeah. John says Vault Wars.
Adrian says, got into the hobby in January 2017, and I'm pretty sure I have several games from that spring that I have never touched. I believed everything in the top 100 or so must be pretty good, especially if the Dice Tower loved it, not so much.
Lauren says, until recently, Viticulture. Now probably Feast for Odin, Terra Mystica, or Great Western Trail.
Yep.
2 of those games I really, really want to try. Feast for Odin and Great Western Trail.
I will get it one of these days. It's been on my to-do list to buy it. Matthew says Mystic Vale Harmony expansion. Got it yesterday.
Joshua says Kingdom Death Monster.
Oh, that's what KDM stands for. Okay. Morton says Axis and Allies. I played it in 2003 and bought the game the same day after trying it out. I have never played my copy or that game since, and I still have it. That's awesome that you remember that.
Nice. Rex says Android Netrunner have Corset, but we don't enjoy it.
Yeah. So why don't you sell it? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Like, get rid of it. Andy says the games I don't wish to play or can't find an opponent for. Makes sense.
Ryan says, well, according to my spreadsheet, yes, I am a geek and I have a board game spreadsheet. Quirkle, which is at 538 days. Tiny Epic Zombies, which is at 551 days. And Marvel Munchkin, which is at a whopping 634 days.
Ooh, that's pretty good. It's a good list. Robert says Predaporter, SN 2019. And now that's my only unplayed game out of 415 games. I'm pleased with that. As you should be, Robert.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Bob says, bang. It was the ideal game to play with casuals. But now we're all more or less non-casuals.
Yeah.
Fair
Makes
enough.
sense.
I do have to mention that Tin says he wanted to know if he knew Nyram has a physical game. He recently found that out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You actually own the physical
game. I own the physical game. It's right over there on my shelf. And the app version, it has 4 of the expansions. There is 7 total expansions. Or I think it has 3 or 4. There are 7 total expansions in the actual card game. Yes. It is awesome. I'm so glad that I own that. Anyway, Fred said, too many. It's Scythe because the AI movement is hard to figure out. Yeah, that's understandable.
Fair enough. Danny says he thinks it's Legion. By the way, great name.
Great name.
I told myself that I would play it until everything was painted. That was a mistake.
That's fair. Tad says my Avalon Hill War games, too tough to find opponents willing to play. Yep, that's a very fair reason.
Yep, and Amber says Monopoly, because no one will play it with her.
Yeah, I'll play it with you, Amber. That sounds fine. All right, so we've changed this up a little bit. Intense said, "Wah!" Yeah, you got to try that out. It's awesome.
We have a new rule. This way, we have uniformity when it comes to how we do things.
Mm-hmm.
So our big thing that we like to do, our favorite part of the podcast is that podcast that we put out is the top 8 debate. Well, we're debating 8 games. So why don't we move Chits and Giggles to that format? We're going to be talking about not 6 like we normally do, but 8 games.
Yeah. So the way I broke it down is I have 2 sets. We have 4 honorable mentions and 4 actual games that I know the details about. The reason my honorable mentions are caveats, which I'll explain in a minute, or I don't actually know when the last time they were played, and there's such a wide span between it. But the other 4, I actually do know how long it's been since I've played it.
So my caveats were a little different. Along the same lines, I kind of know how long it's been. Kind of don't for all my games. However, my honorable mentions in this case are games that I own in my collection for one reason or another that I may or may not get rid of. There's some that I can, some that I can't, or the fact that they're just I don't really feel the need to get them to the table all that much. Where my top 4 games, my picks, I do want to get to the table soon because I really, really do enjoy those games.
Yeah, and
or
also
need to play them.
Also, none of these 8 I've played any other version than the original, than my version. Like, meaning I haven't, if it's on Board Game Arena or Tabletop Sim, I haven't even played one of those.
Yeah, same with me. None of these I've played other copies or any of that matter.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you're ready to do this?
Yeah, let's go.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to?
I'll go ahead and go first.
Sounds good.
So, my first game on my list here for the honorable mentions, the ones that just probably don't have an itching to hit to the table anytime soon, really. And the first one is Game of Thrones, the board game, 2nd edition. It's been 4+ years, if I can remember correctly, when it's hit the table. It's really good, great area control game with a little bit of diplomacy aspects, but it's super, super long, and it could lead to really a lot of like bullying and backstabbing.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the game. That's important to the game, but it can take people out of it. It's very thematic for Game of Thrones. It really is, but it's just not something that's going to hit our table, and especially now with it having a 3-player requirement, and we just don't get all together with a lot of people because of what's the situation. When I do get together with people, I want to play games that don't take 4 or 5 hours because I want to get as many as much gaming in as possible. And so, this one's just not really going to hit the table all that much. Another reason why I still have it in my copy, my collection, is because it's technically my wife's game that was given to her as a gift from her brother. So it's never going to leave our shelves.
Right. That makes sense. If this game was still in my collection, it would be up there still. If it were still in my collection, but it's not. So my first honorable mention I'm gonna explain is Abandoned Ship, which is also a Reiner Knizia game. It's about mice escaping a sinking ship, and it has some of the coolest pieces in it. To be honest, I don't even know where my copy is, but I know it's somewhere in here. It doesn't get to the table. It's a really fun game. Everybody has kind of like their own little secret mouse that they're moving, and you roll a series of dice, and you can move the mice in different amounts, while the board is like kind of telescoping and sinking throughout that. It's really neat. I've enjoyed it. Great components, beautiful production. I believe it's from Mayday Games or maybe even AEG as an old AEG game.
Okay.
And it just has not hit the table. I don't know how long. I want to say a few years ago, though, I did actually bring it to my game group, and we did get it played, or maybe at the shop. I just don't remember, but I vaguely remember us getting it to the table fairly soon around that time.
But did you play it, or did you just teach it?
I played it. Yeah. That's why I'm like, I don't know exactly how long it's been, but I know up until that point, it was also a number of years. So this was one of the earlier games in my collection. So I had one play within, like, probably 8 or 9 years. So, yeah.
Oh, cool. I haven't played it, so I have no input on it.
It was cool.
So, my next game on my list, I call it my number 3 honorable mention, because the closer you get to my actual picks, the more likely I'm going to get to play it.
Yeah.
And that's Mice and Mystics. I have everything for this game. I have both expansions, some of the print and play expansions as well for it. It's one of the first games that I bought with my wife when we got into modern board gaming. And the wife and I have played through the campaign twice. Once as a couple, and once again with some friends because they wanted to play the campaign. And it's a fine game. I really do, and I did enjoy it at the time. Really lucky though with the dice, and my gaming tastes have evolved over time. I don't mind luck, but I prefer things that allow for luck mitigation, like being able to change die face or being able to re-roll or stuff like that. Mice and Mystics doesn't really allow that. You have a few cards that will come up that allow you to do that, but it's not a bad game. I really did enjoy it when I played it. I had a good time playing through both campaigns. And it's when I say both campaigns, it's mainly the first campaign. The wife and I have played through the entire campaign from the first game to the expansion. Yeah. Whereas but when I played it with the group, we only played through the first campaign because he wanted to get it played because he hadn't played it all the way through. And so he's like, I really need to get this off my shelf. I need to play this. We need to finish it. So we did. It's probably been about 3-4 years since I've last played Mice and Mystics.
Wow.
And the big reason why I haven't really wanted to get to the table or really wanted to play it, it's because it's a dungeon crawl. That's basically what it is. With some luck, you're fighting some monsters.
Yeah.
Well, guess what's in my collection is my number one game of all time, Gloomhaven.
Yep.
Gloomhaven has really, really taken out any inkling to get this to the table, because if I had a choice between that dungeon crawl and Gloomhaven, even though Mice and Mystics is a lot simpler, there's a lot less luck in Gloomhaven, so I'm going to likely to get that to the table a whole lot more than that.
That's right. Intense, you have a great one as well. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, that one makes a lot of sense, and I've noticed that's a lot of campaign games. Once the group, falls apart, it's hard to get it back. I mean, that's almost what happened to our Time Stories group. We still have to finish it because we have the last scenario, and we're about halfway through it. We still got to finish it. So technically, it's been unfinished since 2015 when it came out, but yeah, it doesn't count as far as plays, though.
Yeah, and then the whole thing with the Mice and Mystics campaign, when we played it the second time, he only wanted to play the base game because he only had the base game, so he wanted just to go through that. And if I do end up selling Mice and Mystics, I will probably give that friend the first options if he wants to buy the expansions.
Yeah, that makes
honestly,
sense.
We might. I go back and forth because I really have fond memories of this game.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it needs to stay in my collection.
Yeah, the question is, are you going to give it to somebody else to have fond memories of it,
Yeah, exactly. Especially since this mutual friend, we've mentioned it before, Bryce, his kids are starting to play games with him and stuff like that because they're getting towards that age. And this would be a really great game to play with his son, who's about 5, 6, 7, when he's a little bit older. And so if he wants the expansions, if I do just end up selling it, I'll give him first dibs on them.
I have a similar story that's board game adjacent. I've had a poker table for about, I don't know if you've ever even seen it set up, but I've had it for probably about.
Had it, we just never saw it.
Yeah, I had it for about 10 years, and it was a decent quality. I got it used, so it was already a little nicked, and I've added a couple more like scratches and dings and dents to it. But I've had it mostly in pretty good quality for many years. And we were cleaning out the garage this week, and the wife was like, "Nope, it's got to go. Like that, it's done. We have nowhere to put it. There's no reason to have it. You're never going to use it. It's got to go. It's time. It's gone." Actually, now that I think about it, I could have put it in this room. Darn it. Anyway, but yeah, so she wanted me to. I knew nobody would buy it because there are scratches and dings and dents and stuff.
Yeah.
And so she wanted me to bring it to Savers, which is one of our local thrift stores, and that was so difficult for me to think about doing that. And then so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna post it on Facebook, see if any of my friends want it. And an old friend of mine, he said that he wanted it and came by and picked it up. And he was so excited that reassured me. I was like, look, this is gonna get loved. I've had it for I've loved it for 10 plus years. I've enjoyed the mess out of it. It was my first piece of furniture that I ever bought. I love this poker table, and it's gonna go now and be used as a poker table He told me he's gonna probably reupholster it, make it look real nice, clean it up, and he was like, the fact that it's free, that's he was like, you're
Yeah.
doing me a favor. I'm like, no, you're doing me a favor because you're doing this, and
Yeah.
I feel that
No.
the games are gonna be the same way. Like
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm gonna have to convince myself to get rid of some of these because of that fact.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I agree.
which leads into the story for my next honorable mention. That's a game called Dead Fellas, which, in all honesty, is not that great of a game. It's about mafia zombies, and basically you're trying to. They're called mooks, I think, and you're basically trying to kill them by putting bullet holes in them. It's really dumb. It had James Ernest's name on the design, even though from what I understand, he had pretty much nothing to do with it. And this holds its own as one of the very first board game Kickstarters that I've ever done. And I think it was the first one. And it's a card game from 2011. And I got it, and it wasn't that great in my collection. And then I gave it to a mutual friend of ours. And when he was cleaning out his games at the beginning of the year, I saw this, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to get rid of it." I'm like, "Well, then I might as well have it back in my collection." And so technically, it's been unplayed since about 2012, other than me showing him how to play it when I gave it to him a number of years ago. So it's still technically in my collection, just hadn't been there the entire time. So that's why it's on my honorable mentions and not on my actual list. So yeah.
Alrighty, so the next game on my list in the honorable mentions, I have it marked as number 2, and that is a Bruno Cathala game of all games, really.
Wow.
Five Tribes.
Five
It's
Tribes,
been
yeah.
a good 3 or 4 years since I've played this.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really do enjoy the Moncala mechanism in this, and
Yeah.
the fact that depending on which your color that you take off the board is your action. So if you're using a red character, you're assassinating other meatballs on the thing and different stuff like that.
Yeah.
I really enjoy this game. It just really doesn't hit the table all that much because there's a lot of other games that we're just trying to play. Like, I just played Horrified for the umpteenth time in the last 2 years.
Right.
Because it plays quickly, and I'm able to get more games to the table. I do love Five Tribes. I probably will keep this, and I will try to get to the table sometime. It's just there a big part of it too. And I bought the things, and I think my cards are still in there, but I have a first printing of it. It's
Yeah.
a really hard thing to bust this out in groups that you don't know because there is a thing in it that they tried to stay true to the historical content of the game, but there's slave cards in it, and it's just especially in today's world, it's really hard to get that kind of stuff to the table.
Yeah.
I think I did buy the upgraded fakirs. I think they're in the game. I just don't know. I think I'm missing one or two. I don't know what happened to it, but
Right.
yeah, they're there. But it's kind of hard because I do have a first print run of it.
Yeah. And then also you have that you have that knowledge going into it, so that probably it makes it more hesitant to bring it out
Yeah.
because you're like, wait, did I change out these pieces? Did I do this? I don't
Yeah.
remember. Yeah, I totally get you on that one. My next one is it's on my honorable mentions because I know I haven't played it in probably about 6 or 7 years. And I recently got the majority of it into my collection, but I have played it a number of times in different variations, and that's BattleCon from Level 99 Games. I played it a number of years ago. It's in my collection now. I have Devastation and War of Indines. Yep. Or Fate of Indines and War of Indines. And I enjoyed the mess out of this game, and I recently played a couple of the Exceeds that I've had in my collection, which are similar to it, but not quite the same game. So that's why it's also in my honorable mentions. Yeah,
That's it.
BattleCon. That's it. I mean, if you like Street Fighter, play BattleCon, play Exceed. You know how it works. It's a 2-player head-to-head fighting game, brilliant strategy game. It's awesome, really smart. But yeah,
Nice.
it's hard to get people to play it.
So my number one honorable mention is just hasn't got to the table because it just hasn't got to the table. I have played other types of games of this, but this specific copy of mine has not gone on. And what I'm talking about here, different types, I'll explain in a minute. But it's another Days of Wonder game.
Okay.
And that is Ticket to Ride Europe.
Yeah.
Now, I have played New York within the last couple years, and I did enjoy it. But this specific copy, a big box copy of Ticket to Ride, I have not played in years. My personal copy, it's been 3 to 4 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And so this is why it's in my honorable mention too, because like I said, I have played a Ticket to Ride. I played Ticket to Ride. What was it, New York? Was that one copy of yours?
Mm-hmm.
The first one was it New York? Yeah.
Yeah, New York
I
was
have
the
played
first
that.
one.
But I haven't played Ticket to Ride, regular, Europe, any of the maps like the Icelandic or the Nordic maps or anything like that. Like a big box Ticket to Ride, I have not played in ages.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about this specific copy that I have, it's one of the first games that entered my board gaming collection. And that was because it was given to me as a gift from a former coworker. So there is some nostalgia on that. That's probably why it's not going to leave our collection anytime soon.
Sure.
Plus, I really dig it. I have a copy of Ticket to Ride, and that's one of the things everybody says. You need to have at least some type of Ticket to Ride in your collection. Daniel over there, he has several copies of Ticket to Ride.
I used to. I don't any. Well, I mean, I have like 4. No, I have 5 now, which is.
I was gonna say, did you just buy London or something like that?
Yeah, I have all 3 of the small ones, and then I have Europe, and then I have United States. I used to have the map packs.
Nice. I think the biggest reason why Ticket to Ride Europe hasn't made it to the table is when we got into gaming, we played the mess out of Ticket to Ride games. Whether it was the regular Ticket to Ride or the Europe. I think the last big box Ticket to Ride game was at the shop when our mutual friend Bryce brought his 10th anniversary edition to the shop, and we played it. I think it was a tabletop day when we played this copy of it. Yeah, so it's been a while since I played a big box version of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I really dig it. I still think Ticket to Ride's a lot of fun. My favorite is Europe, just because I love the
stations.
What are they called? The stations, because it allows you to jump someone's route if they block you. So there is some mitigation of the blocking and stuff like that. But also, this is one of those games I say don't play with my wife because she's mean. She has a tendency to like always get the longest route because she'll go the most way out of the way of where everybody's trying to, like, if everybody's going to like the southern part and trying to fight over there, even though she has to get a route from one of her areas to a southern part, she'll go north and come around through like the western part of the board or the eastern part of the board to get to that spot. And we're just sitting there like, and every time I play it, I'm like, you gotta watch out for her. She'll avoid the little kerfluffle that's going over here, like in the central area of the city, and go up the bottom or down, up the top or down the bottom to get around to where she wants. Nobody listens to me.
Nope.
Every time she wins by like 40 points.
Yeah. Yep, that sounds right. Oh man. Yeah, you gotta warn them about that, but if they don't listen, that's their fault. That's their undoing. So my last honorable mention is technically the only Shelf of Shame game on my list. I bought this somewhere between 8 to 10 years ago, and I have never played it. Technically. And that's because it is a variation on Carcassonne. It is called A New World.
Okay.
And
I've heard of this one.
Yep, this is the version of Carcassonne where for one, you start on the east coast and you build westward for your tiles, and you have to get if the surveyor gets past your meeples and you haven't scored that feature yet, they get returned to you without being scored. Oof. So it is a cool little timing thing going on. It's pretty neat. And while Carcassonne is my favorite game, and I've played countless times of it, I've technically never played that copy. So that's why I have it as an honorable mention. It's not... I mean, it...
So
yes, it's technically its own game.
It's your Ticket to Ride. Like, for me, I haven't played Ticket to Ride Europe. I have played Ticket to Ride recently.
Right.
It's just...
Yep. Yeah, I haven't played that version at all, and I'm looking at it right there. It's right there.
Yeah,
and it's staring at me.
My Ticket to Ride is right there, so... My Days of Wonder is right there. Wait, nope, they moved down here. They're down here now.
Yep, so that's what it is. You
can't see it on camera, but it's like on the third shelf rather than the second shelf.
Right.
Fourth shelf.
So the next 4 that we have on our list, that was our honorable mentions. The last 4, I do know how long it's been since my last play.
So one of the games on my list here, I don't know how long it's been. I do remember the last time I played it, though. and that's been a while. And when I get to it, you'll understand why.
Okay.
So my first game on my list, the number 4 game on my list here, is Arcadia Quest. It's been over 2 years. I know that for a fact because it's not in my log, and
Mm-hmm.
it's because I just haven't busted the table. I really enjoy the game. I have a great time playing it. I bought it when one of our favorite stores shut down. I got it on sale, Hastings.
Yep.
Played it 2 or 3 times. Really enjoyed it. It's a cool little chibi game that you're basically trying to save the land or something like that because some darkness happened. But it's not a co-op game. What's cool about it is we're each playing individual guilds trying to become the best guild. Has a really cool line of sight. Like, hey, I can see from this spot all the way over there if I'm an archer. However, if there's like a big bad in the way, he's going to get in the way of the arrows, even if I'm trying to shoot the other guy in the guild. But if there's only like one person in the space, I can shoot over them and try to hit the guy in the far back. But if there's like 2 or 3 people in that little area, well, then they're blocking your line of sight. So you're shooting at them rather than way over there. So it's an interesting mechanism. Like you have complete line of sight, and you just draw a line. If there's a line, you can hit.
Yeah, that makes sense. What?
Really good game.
Why hasn't this been played?
It's because one, it's a grandiose style game. It's really big. It takes a long time, and it's been asymmetric. Not too bad. We all have the same actions, but trying to learn each of your characters because you tend to have like 2 or 3 characters in your guild that you can get, and you're trying to play them out. And you're gonna make sure, okay, am I doing this one right? Do I use this ability? Do I tap this? What's going on here? And it just hasn't got to the table.
That's fair. Cool.
I do enjoy it, and the thing is, it's a campaign-style game, too, but you need other players to play the 10 scenarios that come in the box, because, unlike Gloomhaven, I can play that solo if I wanted to. I cannot play this solo because I have to be competing against other rival guilds.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cool. Alright, my number 4 for longest in my collection without being played. I have not played it since 2016. So, over 4 years. And that's because this was going to be a demo that I received to show off to people, and I got an early copy. So I don't technically have a complete copy of the game, but I do have everything that you need to play it, and that's Phase by AEG. This was their black box game of 2016, and I believe it was the last one that they ever did. And so they would release it around Gen Con. And I remember I got it about a month early, and that was part of the Vanguard program. And so I got a full copy of the cards, learned how to play it, demoed it like crazy, and people loved it. And then, unfortunately, the game was just kind of a flop. And then I still have my copy, and it's been put away since that time, and I unfortunately have never played it since. So that is Phase by AEG. It's like Magic, except like all the cards flip around and they have different phases, and it's like they have like a light and a dark side and stuff, so they become evil, and depending on how you do it, it's really smart the way it works. But I couldn't tell you again how to play it because it's been so long. Guaranteed at least 4 years.
Alrighty. Man, so, no, I remember you showing it, but I never played it myself.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, you remember me demoing it, right?
Yeah.
I demoed it throughout that entire season, like a month. I probably demoed it 10, 15 times to various players who would play it. Everybody liked it, and then I haven't played it since.
Yeah, that was during the time where AEG just kind of pumped games out, and if they didn't do good, they kind of just ignored that game and just pumped more games out. I have to say AEG has gotten a lot better now that they've decided we're only going to pump out like maybe 1 or 2 games a year. We're going to make sure they're really, really good games.
Yeah.
Instead of just it's kind of like Scorpius Freighter. There's flaws with that game, but it was during that era where they were just pumping out games. It was an okay game, but it wasn't. They could have made it a great game.
Yeah, they wanted to streamline their catalog, which made a lot of sense. Cool.
All right, so my number 3 game on my list here, and this is the one I was telling you about where I don't know exactly how long it's been, but I remember the last play, and that is Evolution.
Yeah, okay. Because you taught me how to play it.
I taught you and Stacy how to play it.
Yes, and she's hated it since. I ended up getting the mini version of it, like that was at Target, so it's at least that old.
Yeah, so it's been a while. It's not on my app, so it's been at least 2 years,
Yep.
probably longer. I want to say it was probably before 2017, maybe 2016, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
It's a cool little card game about trying to evolve your creatures, and the person with the most food tokens at the end of the game wins
Mm-hmm.
because you have a little bag that at the end of the round you got to eat so many food tokens, and whoever has the most of those at the end of the game wins. There's a lot going on in this game because you've got to feed to the watering hole. Do you evolve your creature to become
Yeah.
small, become big, do this, do that, become a carnivore, so you can't eat in the water hole, so you got to make sure you put little food in there and then start eating other people's characters. So it's an interesting concept. I really do love the game. I've heard climate actually is a lot better.
Yeah.
Because it adds where part of the struggle is you're trying to do the temperature, so you're trying to either, if it gets really cold, you're trying to get big, fat, and fluffy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if it starts warming up, you can't handle the heat, so your creatures start dying out, stuff like that. I really love that tug of war aspect added on from what I hear. I want to try it so bad, but it just doesn't hit the table. My wife enjoys it, but it's not a good two-player game, so we can't really play that all that well as two players.
Right.
But I do dig this game. I do enjoy it. I've owned it for roughly, I think it's one of the first games I bought in like 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. It's been in my collection for that long. I do enjoy it. It doesn't hit the table.
When you taught Stacy and I, was that the last time you...
I've played it, yep.
Okay. So I know that was before the beginning came out. You taught me how to play it. The beginning came out in 2016. So you haven't played it in more than 4 years.
So, yeah, it was before the beginning came out. So, yeah, there you go.
There you go. I had to check that. My game, my number 3. How long have you been in gaming? Let me ask you that.
Let's see. I got married in 2013, so since 2014.
2014, so at least 6 years.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because it was the early part of 2014 when I got into gaming, because that's when we went to the comic shop on one of your demo nights, and we got sucked into it.
Yep. So this I have probably not played in about 5 or 6 years, and I'm going to give you some clues, and I want you to guess it. But I own this copy, and I bought it. I have crazy amounts of expansions I've never played, and it's a big, grandiose game that actually got me into a sci-fi series.
Is it? Oh, hold on.
It's one of the two.
Star Trek Panic, is it?
It is not Star Trek Panic, although that's not far.
If you got it into a sci-fi series,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
It's
just
the
trying to
other
remember
one.
what sci-fi series that you've gotten into. It's not Star Wars. No. Oh, I know what it is. It is because you have the copy signed.
I have it signed by Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk is Firefly.
Which is also another reason I haven't played it, is because it sits on our shelf, and we love the fact that it's there, and it's signed by Alan Tudyk, and I don't want to touch it, even though I have like all these expansions bulging out of it. You know, I have just about everything for it.
For people who've never seen the show or the movie, you should. Alan Tudyk is the guy who played the pilot, Wash.
Yeah. Yep.
In fact, my favorite character in that show.
Yeah. And so I remember when this game was fairly new, about a year after it was released, which was 2013, we got a copy for the store, and then within the next year or two after that, somebody brought it in, and I demoed it, I learned how to play it, and then I bought it shortly after that because I loved it. It was an awesome game. I enjoyed the mess out of it. I want to get it back to the table, but like none of my groups right now would be willing to play it because it's like, oh, it just takes too long. It's too sloggy. And then like our group, yours and mine, they'll be like, well, let's just play Outer Rim instead. You know, it takes just as long and it's more streamlined at the same time. And so it's like, I get it.
In all honesty, I do like the game. I give it a lot of guff. It's just that it doesn't give me that feel of Firefly. Yeah, you're doing all this, but to me, Firefly isn't just about the pick up and deliver, the space exploration. It's about fighting with the Alliance. It's about, making illegal smuggles onto actual planets or doing like some sort of bank robbery stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah, it just doesn't give me, because to me, Firefly is the blending of sci-fi and Western. And I get the sci-fi part of it with the pick up and deliver, but I ain't getting that Western feel from it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it definitely has a sci-fi. It doesn't have any bit of the Western. No, not such. But I did enjoy it, and I miss playing it. So I want to get it to the table eventually.
So the next game on my list is my number 2 game. was actually given to me as a Christmas gift, and I haven't played it in a while. I played the mess out of it, and I really do enjoy it. And it's the only Ryan Lochte game I own, which
Wow.
means I also have a signed copy of
And that's Above and Below? No.
it. Above and below.
Above and
Yep,
Below, yeah.
you're above and below. And I have the storybook, so it's fine. Mine won't actually be all ruined, like if you pull yours off because it's on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't really use like the rule book or the storybook all that much because it's signed by Ryan Lochte. And I do enjoy the game. It's been 4 years or so since I've last played this.
Sure.
I like the fact that it has a storybook element to it with some worker placement where you're trying to get resources and use those resources to say go on an adventure and stuff like that. That's my favorite part of the game is going on this adventure. The fact of the matter is the pseudo sequel to this game I heard has really knocked Above and Below off a lot of people's lists because Near and Far does a lot more with that storybook element, making it a campaign style game. I just haven't tried it. I want to. It's got beautiful artwork because it's a Ryan Lochte game and he does everything for it. It's just it annoys me how talented that man is, and I got none of that talent.
Right. Yeah, he has no right being that good. Ever.
Ever. I have played a lot of his games because a lot of our mutual friends have it. So, like, I've played Islebound, I've played Megaland, what is that other one? Sleeping Gods, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is it. Sleeping Gods? No, it's what is that worker placement one? I can't think of the name. Sleeping Gods is not. I haven't played yet.
I don't remember.
But the worker placement one that he has, I really do enjoy it. I have a good time with Above and Below. It just doesn't come to the table.
No, that's a shame. I do want to try it because I have played it. Last time I played it was when you showed me.
Yeah, and it was fun. Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah,
You were digging the storybook.
Yeah, it was cool. I liked it a lot. It had good mechanisms, good dice mitigation, but it was just a dice game. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
My next one was a game released in 2009, and I know I didn't have it that long. I bought it probably 2 years after that, so probably around 2011-ish, maybe 2012, because I bought it at Tuesday morning for big discount, and it looked like a generic Euro game, and I played it twice since then, and they were I know I used to live. This was before I moved to Albuquerque. When I lived here, and then I moved to Albuquerque about 6 years ago, and this was probably about a year or two before that. So probably about 8 years ago that I played it last. I'm not going to make you guess it because I don't think you've even heard of this game.
All right.
It's called Livingstone.
Nope.
Yeah, it's a really neat game actually. Like it's honestly like it's not a worker placement. You're putting tents out, and they cost money to put them on different plots of land while the boat is moving along. That's effectively the rounds. And you're going to be scoring the columns and the rows based on how early you are to do it. But also during your turn, you need to make a point. Everybody has their own little like treasure chest that has a little coin slot in it. And you have to donate money to the queen. And this was one of the first games that I've heard of that does this, where at the end of the game, whoever donated the least amount of money to the queen, who was effectively approving and funding your expedition to I think it's to Africa, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Cannot win. So you're eliminated from winning if you donated the very least. And so when you donate money, you hold it in your hand secretly, and all you know is I am donating money to the queen. And you say that to everybody else, but they don't see how much. It's a secret amount. So it adds this, because of course money is the whole thing you need to do in the game, but at the same time, in order to win, you have to donate the least. Yeah, or the most. Or not the most, but you have to donate not the least. You know what I mean?
So because money is your victory points, right?
No, money is not your victory points. You get victory points. Everybody will have their own amount of victory points, but because money is needed to get the victory points, if you've donated the least amount of money to the queen, you're eliminated regardless of how many points you have.
Oh, God.
So it's neat. It's super cool. Maybe I'll have to bring it to one of our game groups eventually, and really kind of cajole you guys to play it. But it's not bad. It does some very interesting things. I just haven't played it in like 8 years, so I need to fix that. And that was Livingstone.
All right, so my number one game I have mentioned before, and I was even joking around on there that it's the longest game on my shelf of shame. Notice I haven't got to my shelf of shame till now.
Yeah.
This is also the one game that I do really, really want to get to the table because I've heard really good things about this.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know what it is.
Fury of Dracula?
Yep, I have Fury of Dracula 3rd Edition. I bought this game right when Fantasy Flight announced their departure with Game Workshop. So I was like, oh god, this is in Barnes & Noble. I better pick it up because I want to try this one, and it's going to get super expensive, not knowing that Game Workshop was basically going to release the same game within the next year. So I was like,
right.
It was a FOMO kind of situation there. I'm glad I bought it. Don't get me wrong. I do want to play it. I've seen it played. I've watched videos how to play and stuff like that. It looks like a really good game. The reason why it's on my shelf of shame, it's been there about 4 years or so. Whenever that breakup happened is when I bought it, which I think was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't got to the table for one reason or another. And I think the big part of it is mainly because of the rules, as we talked about it in the fans honorable mention as well. It's the overhead, because not only are you having to teach the game to other players, you also, if it's your copy, you're more than likely going to take Dracula. So I'm trying to teach the game to you guys how you play your characters, but I'm also trying to learn how to play my character, because Dracula has to play a series of cards from where he started to move along the board, as well as trying to seed his monsters to help fight, and it's just, there's a lot going on. So I have to teach you how to play your vampire hunters, and I got to teach myself how to play Dracula, and it's just, there's a lot. And another reason, everything I've heard and everything it looks like, it's a Fantasy Flight game, so it's going to take about 3 to 4 hours to play this game completely.
Yep.
And the third thing about this game that makes it kind of hard, you have to play with all 4 vampire hunters, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's 4 vampire hunters. Which means, if I'm playing a 4-player game and one person's playing Dracula, someone has to control 2 characters. And if it's a first-time play for everybody, that's a bit complicated.
Yep.
So
it's not easy done.
You'd either need to do it where 2 people, like in a 3-player game, where 2 people are controlling 2 characters each, or you have to do it with a 5-player game, where it's 1 person each learning how to play their own specific characters. There's a lot going on. It's very difficult. It's really hard to do it as a 2-player game too, because then someone has to run 4 characters. Be like, okay, I got to go here. I got to make sure I got to go over here. I got to sniff out Dracula over here. Oh god, which characters have I activated?
Yeah, no, that's intense.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this game. I do want to try it to the point where we do watch Dice Tower, and Z Garcia is someone I really enjoy. I've met him once, and he's a really nice guy. And he doesn't like long games, and I understand that. He really enjoys this game, so it's like, I want to try this. If he, who doesn't like long games, likes it, I'm okay with long games. I bought Twilight Imperium, and that's a long game. I really enjoy it. It's just, I haven't hit the table with it, and I want to get it to the table. It's just, it's very difficult too, because like I said, there's just a lot of overhead on it that you have to learn and teach.
Yeah, and I feel like you're definitely determined. Like, you're never going to get rid of it until it's played.
Yeah, no, it's something that needs to get played. There's 2 games on my shelf of shame that for sure I want to play before I ever decide to get rid of it. And that's Fury, Dracula, and Star Wars Rebellion. Yep. Notice both of those are Fantasy Flight games.
Yep. Gee, weird. All right. I don't blame you on that. I still want to try I've been wanting to try your copy for years. So it's up there.
And then we've had opportunities. We've almost played this several times, and then something would happen where I got sick and we had to cancel, or somebody couldn't make it, so it just wouldn't make sense to play as 4-player to make someone play like a 3-player game.
Yeah.
We've tried for several years to play it around Halloween, and it just never got, because again, it's a 3-hour game, and most of our game night group is 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it'd be the only game we'd play. Well, back in the day. So nowadays, we don't really meet up.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a sad realization. So we're gonna have to have a gaming week. Like, once all this is over, we have to get together for a week and then quarantine.
I do like the idea that my buddy wants to kind of do, where he wants to do his like own little gaming con for mutual friends. We go away for a couple days and just play board games the whole time once all this settles down.
Yeah, exactly. That would be amazing. All right. My very last one. I can actually tell you I have not played in somewhere between 15 to 17 years.
Risk.
No. I've played Risk since then. Um, Even the normal Risk I've played since then. This one was a collectible card game that I used to play with my siblings when I was growing up. So that's why I'm saying roughly about
So wait, hold
15,
on. Say that again. Used to play when?
15 to 17 years ago was the last play of
And
it.
when you were growing up, the last time you played it was what, high school.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
it's a collectible card game.
It's a collectible card game. I played it with my siblings. We enjoyed it. It was not Magic the Gathering or Pokemon or anything like that. It was a
Yeah, I was
lesser
trying.
known one. But it was around that same time when a bunch of it was popping up. And I looked at when it first came up, and I remember it, and it was 1999. And so I'm allotting, I probably played it around 2001, 2002, up until about 2004
Okay.
would be the last time I played it because that was a couple years uh, before like graduating high school and whatnot, and siblings stopped playing it with me, because they were already graduated high school. And that's Tomb Raider, the collectible card game.
Ah, you have mentioned this one.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I still own all of my cards. 100%. I own. I see it right there. I have a long box filled with all the cards to the brim. I've since gotten more, and because it can be played either one or two players, and it's cooperative.
Okay. Well, that's understandable.
Yep, you delve into the dungeon. The farther down you go, you roll dice, and then the harder the challenges get. But you have to find the exit at like level 5 or 6 or whatever.
Okay.
And so you're picking up items on the way. You're basically making a map of the cards, and so you lay them out in this grid. But where you enter them is the bottom of the card. So some of them might be upside down. Some of them might have like different directions that you can and can't go. And so, is it broken? Oh yeah. Like there's times where you'll be in a dead end and there's just no way. Well, I lost because I can't go any farther. But I have not played it since I was in high school, which 15 to 17 ish years ago.
You're aging yourself.
Yeah, yeah. That tells you something. That is easily the game that's been in my collection the longest since the last play.
Well, then again, I can't really say anything. My graduating class would have been, or is going to be, 20 years in a couple years.
Yep, yep. It tells you something. But
Yeah.
that goes to show, like, I was in collectible gaming a lot longer before I was into board gaming. That was kind of the outlet. But I played Magic, probably about a month ago. So I've played that recently. And then Pokemon,
Well,
I
that's
tried to
because
teach my son about a year
Magic,
ago.
like we were talking about, like apps, how long are they going to be supported? Magic's been supported since the beginning because
Yeah.
it's a cash cow.
Yep, 1994. It's been supported, and I've played it technically since. I started in 2001 when I played Magic for the first time, and I played it ever since.
Alrighty, so that's our list.
What an interesting list.
It really is. Wow, this has been a long one.
It has. It's been almost 2 hours. So, of course, if you're watching us live, hang out with us for a few minutes. We're going to be talking about what we'll be doing for our next week's episode. But let's talk about our top 8 that's coming up tomorrow.
Oh God, this top 8.
I love this top 8. Love this topic. It's so good. That is our top 8 games that were made last century.
What we mean by that is between 1900 and 1999.
Yep.
No chess or anything like that's on it.
Yeah, no, we don't need none of those old school games that were invented back then. No, that's garbage. Who needs it? So, yeah, we will be debating those. Those will be El Grande, Magic the Gathering. Do you want me to list them off?
Go ahead, keep going.
Raw, Acquire, For Sale, Lost Cities, Pitch Car, and Catan.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. He'll put a poll up on Board Game Revolution.
Yep.
You will put a poll up on Board Game Revolution.
I will.
And if you want to take part of this, go to Board Game Revolution community on Facebook, and you can add games that you would like for us to mention as honorable mentions, and or vote on games you really like out of this topic.
And if you ever come up with ideas for topics or other things, want to tell us why we are or are not correct on our lists, please do so at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Twitter at EBG Podcast.
And if you want to, that went way shorter than I'm used to. I'm sorry. Uh, caught me off guard. If you ever want to join in on the discussion live, like our friend Intense Blitz did, join us at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
As well as you can find all video re-uploads of everything we record on YouTube at Everyday Board Games Podcast 2020. Usually about 1 or 2 days, give or take. In fact, yesterday's episode with recording with Rob Davio will be up live tomorrow, roughly 10:15 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, so 12 Eastern.
Very cool. So check that out. And then, as always, we want to thank all of our contributors that commented, all the 101 comments that we did. Daniel, thank you for coming up with this list and humoring me as I talk about Tomb Raider, the collectible card game that I am struggling to remember how it even works.
That's fine. Just also for our audio listeners, if you want to find the audio versions of this, you can find it on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast, which includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, Podbean, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so thank you for watching. As always, I've been Daniel.
And I've been Daniel.
And thank you for watching Everyday Board Games.
Have a good one.
You said the audio one, right at the end there. Or, like, that's why it threw me off. You're like, audio versions are at Podbean. I was like...
Yeah, well, it's because you cut me off because when I was talking about, like, hey, this is going to come up, and then you went into, like, our goodbye spiel, and I'm like, wait, I haven't done the audio version yet.
Oh, yeah,
to let
sorry.
people know the Rob Davio was going up.
I forgot about that. My bad. Cool. Well, that was a fun episode. It's stopping the recording right now.
Sounds good.
Let's talk about the next one.
Just move your little pop-up camera that I had here, if I can look at the script that I made for myself, and go up here. All right, cool. I don't know. What topic are you thinking?
I don't know. This is for Chits
I
Giggles.
have an idea because, end of the year thing. I don't know if you want to save it for now or for like December, where we talk about like the favorite games that we've played this year.
Yeah. I do want to say that.
Doesn't necessarily mean it has to be games that were made this year.
Right.
Our top 8 games that we played this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's do that at the end.
With 2 topics, we could do the best games that we've played of 2020 or the best games that we played. So we could do like the best games we played this year and the best games of 2020.
I thought you were going to say the worst games we played this year.
No, because that would be a lot of DMG games.
Oh, ouch. That was a harsh stab. Yeah, wow. That's brutal. Yeah, no, let's save that to the end of the year. I think that's a good end of the year.
I mean, that'd be a good couple episodes in December where we could talk about the best games we've played in 2020 this year, like you to us, and the best games of 2020 that we've played.
So, I always like these vague concept style